Hello and welcome into this week's edition of Intercollegiate Conversations. We're pleased to be joined today by Eric Crist, the Associate Athletic Director for Events and Facilities at SIUE. Eric, appreciate the time. I just want to jump right in with you because I got all sorts of questions. And tell me, how did you first get started working in college athletics?
Well, first, I appreciate the time this afternoon, Luke. I'm excited to have this conversation and dive into it a little bit. But a little bit about myself. I think we all have our unique backgrounds and come ups, if you will. I actually started out as an unpaid basketball manager at Eastern Illinois University. I was there for my undergraduate um, studies, and during that time, I really found a passion, one, for college athletics. I knew I wanted to be in college athletics, had no idea what I wanted to do, probably like most professionals. And so I was in the basketball side of things. Had an amazing time, got to learn a ton. Um, and it was that experience really kind of propelled me into the future of where I am now and the fact that it was very operational. I think sometimes when you think of managers, you think of the nitty gritty, folding towels and filling water bottles and things like that. And I was really fortunate enough that I got to do that plus a lot more. And so I was thankful for that time. And that propelled me into a graduate assistant position at Eastern Illinois, where made the switch into the administrative side of things, jumped into events and facilities specifically, and really kind of got to dive into my career that way. I was really fortunate to learn under a great athletic director in Tom Michael, and in total spent 4 years there, and got to learn a ton. Um, but from there, made the jump. My path is a little unique in the fact that I've been at a lot of different levels. So once I completed grad school, I was 22 years old and took a high school athletic director job in a small private school in Danville in Illinois, and was there for 2 years. Again, learned a ton. Being 22, 23 years old, and being in the head chair obviously is quite the jump. But then you add in the fact that that was also during COVID, so I had to go through the whole pandemic process, and really kind of got to see the whole inner workings of being in the head chair and kind of navigating all of that. From there, I was fortunate to earn an opportunity at Fort Lewis College in Durango, Colorado. It's a small Division II school in the RMAC conference, where I became an assistant AD for events and facilities. I got to oversee capital projects. So while I was there, we went through the whole planning process, the construction project, and then also the finishing touches um, for a $34 million renovation to the arena. So it was a great experience for me. Really kind of got to get into the capital project side of things, which was new to me at that time. Got to do everything I wanted and more from events and facilities side, and then made the jump to the University of New Mexico, where I was the director of events and parking, and got to work in the historic pits. Got to cover all of those sports, both at the college level, but then also at the high school level, because University of New Mexico is a flagship university. They host a ton of New Mexico high school events, and so really kind of got my hands involved in all the event process, if you will. I got to host a national championship while I was there as well, in indoor track and field. So made kind of a little bit of a path between the facilities and events world, and that's landed me here in a lot of ways back home. I'm from Illinois originally, so 2 hours just north of Edwardsville. Here at SIUE is my hometown, so back home now. And I've been here just a little over a year and a half and oversee events and facilities, capital projects, and all those inner workings as well. So my path has been unique in the fact that I've been at the high school level, Division II level, the group of five, and then obviously now at a non-football Division I. So it's been a unique path and story for myself.
Certainly. And a bit of a unique story for us, too, in the sense that we haven't talked to somebody yet who works in events and facilities. We've spoken with a lot of people throughout college athletics, but not necessarily somebody in that part of the department. So I do want to ask you about that. I mean, I'm sure there's not an average day. I'm sure every day is different, but try to take us through what might be some sort of average day for you in that role with SIUE.
Yeah, I love it because I think every day is different. And I think that's in a good way, right? Because you can never really get worn out by any means because you're not doing the same thing day in and day out. And so my current role here at SIUE, it really varies by the day and by the moment. To be honest with you, I'm not much of the polo, nice dressed up guy because I usually got my sleeves rolled up and I'm doing something in the mud or doing something behind the scenes and getting dirty. So um, I think that's something that's really nice, and that I've really enjoyed from my professional standpoint is no 2 days are the same. And I think from the standpoint at SIUE, again, my days are different every day. Right now we're in basketball and wrestling season, but we're also working forward towards camp season. We've got a couple of capital projects going on, so I'm on, a couple of different steering committees, or might be working through, just being the liaison for a company as they're kind of working through some of our projects for us. So very different days. It's always fun to kind of talk about that because I don't have a great answer for it. Just because some days you just don't know what you're going to get into. And then other days you may have 20 things planned and you get to six of them. And so it's a very unique world that I get to live in from the events and facilities side of things. But I enjoy every moment of it.
You mentioned the different places you've worked and the different jobs you've held. How important in college athletics is networking, and how important has, that and relationship building been for you so far in your career?
Yeah, I think it's huge because you hear it all the time. But I think college athletics, the sports industry in general, is such a small world. I think of all my different stops I've been at, and I'll give the examples here of when I was the high school athletic director. One of the students at the school, his sister worked at the Division II that I made the jump to. And so she was in the compliance department there and reached out to me when the position opened up and asked, "Hey, would you have an interest in getting into college athletics?" And of course, I jumped at that opportunity. And then I'm at Fort Lewis, and the University of New Mexico position opened up. Again, the compliance director there was the compliance director at Eastern Illinois when I was a basketball manager. And so we had known each other there, and he knew that I was in the events and facility side of things. And of course, he makes the pitch of, "Do you want to jump to Division I?" And so it's been unique every step I've been to. I've known somebody. Uh, I'm not saying you got to become best friends with your compliance people, although you should. But I think they've been very beneficial for me in my career. But I think again, you just find out really quickly how small the industry truly is, and everybody knows someone. And so, whether that is, one of our graduate assistants is looking for their next job and looking for their first full-time gig, somebody in our department knows someone at the school that they're probably applying to. And I think you can apply that case to any position, any individual, or anything like that. So I think it's huge. Again, there's a big difference too of knowing somebody and staying uh, connected with somebody. And what I mean by that is it's really easy to say, well, I know Joe Smith at XYZ school, um, but you haven't talked to him in 7 years. I think it's really important that you follow up with those folks and you just touch base with them. And it doesn't have to be a long conversation by any means, but just checking in and just seeing how they're doing. Maybe you've got them on social media and you see that they've just maybe bought a new house or had their firstborn or whatever the case is. If you reach out and you can acknowledge that and obviously just touch base and make those genuine connections. It goes such a long way because I think it's easy to get lost in the hustle of our business in terms of there's just so many moving parts and things like that. So being able to build those genuine relationships and being able to continue those and grow them, I think is really important.
Along with that, how valuable do you think job boards are in college athletics? So, both as an employee trying to get a job, but maybe even, from an employer side and from schools using job boards. How valuable do you think job boards can be in this industry?
I think they can be really important. I think that um, in a lot of ways, a lot of folks still, that's where they start their search for maybe their next position, right? Um, And again, I go back to that relationship standpoint. I could look at the job board and say, oh, well, I know somebody at this school, but I didn't know that they were looking for something, or um, any of those kind of things. And so I think it's really important from an employer side of things. I think in a lot of ways this can be your first sales pitch, right? And I think that when you are writing your job description, you want to be accurate. You want to make sure that you're including everything that this position is going to include, because at the end of the day, nobody wants to hire somebody and it's not a good fit for either side, and that position is reopened in 2 months or 3 months, whatever it may be. So I think there's that fine line that, I think they can be really important, but I think they can also lead you down a rabbit hole too if you're maybe looking for jobs, and you can find yourself stuck scrolling pretty quickly. So having those relationships goes a long way because, again, you never know. Somebody's going to know somebody in the industry.
Obviously, we've started intercollegiate.co. It's the most comprehensive job board out there for college athletics. It's not just a job board, though. It's a place where we're trying to build a community, an even bigger community for college athletics. Just from what you've seen, I mean, can you speak to the accessibility or maybe the easiness in using intercollegiate.co for, the many different offerings and purposes it has?
Yeah, I think we talked about it when I first hopped on, but just for starters, the ease of access to claim your profile and the information that Intercollegiate had on me already before I had even created a username or password, I think was phenomenal. Again, I think that's something that's really important, and it makes you as an individual feel like you're known and you're obviously respected, but that people know who you are, and there's just that piece to it. And so I think that's really been something that's been awesome for me to see. And then, like we mentioned, just a social media presence as well. Intercollegiate is so well intertwined, and that's how I sometimes will find out that a coach is coming here or administrators maybe moving there, and so it's been really beneficial in that piece.
I don't want to hold you up, but a couple of other ones just about your career and such. What's something you know now that you wish you knew when you first started working in college athletics or in sports?
Gosh, that's a good question. I think that really early on, um, I probably felt like I knew it all, in the fact that I was a 22-year-old high school athletic director, and I did not know everything, but maybe I probably carried myself that way in the fact that I probably talked more than I listened, and so I would say my biggest advice is just listening. I think that's a huge piece that you can take in sports, but you can also take that in life, whether you're at the grocery store or maybe picking up your mail, just any of those things. I think that's a huge piece. I think the other thing that I would add into that too is just getting involved. And what I mean by that is um, don't say no to something because you don't see a benefit in it, or maybe you don't know why that this is being done the way that it is. I think that's something that really helped me out and really grow quickly, from a professional standpoint, is that I was willing to roll my sleeves up and go do something that maybe everybody else wasn't willing to go do. Especially from a facility side of things, there's a laundry list of those, right? Um, but I just think that those two things are really important. I think if you're willing to lead and lead by example is huge. And then also being able to sit back and just listen, because I think you learn the most from those two opportunities. If you can really listen to the room and get an understanding of why the inner workings work the way they do, or why maybe this university works this way or this department works this way, whatever it may be, you really get to learn a lot. But then you could say the same thing about an individual. Just getting to learn from them and listen and hear their stories, and it just is huge. So,
That leads me to my next question, and we'll end on this. Let me put you on the spot again before I let you go. Just what do you think is the best piece of advice that you've been given in life or in work that you think you apply to this job on maybe a daily or weekly basis?
oh, goodness. I think, again, I go back to that listen standpoint. Um, I don't know if it was maybe a word of advice that I heard, but it was more of the action of, hey, that kind of thing. I took that to heart, and I think it's been very beneficial for me, in the fact that, again, if you just listen to those around you that care about you, or maybe have more experience, and just any of those kind of things, I think that goes such a long way, um, and really will propel your career in a lot of different ways, because again, you learn as you go, and you learn more, and you pick up things that sometimes you maybe have blinders on otherwise, and you see your specific area, and that's it. And so I think from an events and facilities standpoint, that's the same thing. I think we get so intertwined with the inner workings of this facility, and sometimes we maybe miss, well, from a fan's perspective, this would work better. And so it's just good to hear those things, and um, I would say that's probably my biggest piece of advice.
A big thank you to Eric Crist, the Associate Athletic Director for Events and Facilities at SIUE, for joining us in this week's edition of Intercollegiate Conversations. And a big thank you to you as well for taking the time out to watch this week's episode. We suggest that you subscribe to our YouTube page so that you don't miss any future conversations or content. We also suggest that you check out intercollegiate.co. It's the most comprehensive job board out there for college athletics. And if you're somebody who does work in college athletics already, well, we suggest you go and claim your profile on intercollegiate.co. It's free to do so. Until next time, life is just a series of hellos and goodbyes. So for now, we say goodbye.